Hey, I'm Courtney Waterman, your tutor. Lover of anime, manga, and math. And you just tuned into another session of Tutor Me Sempai. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're jumping into a 5th grade topic, ordering fractions, decimals, and percentages. So if you're new to my channel, I'm putting time codes in for this video in the description box below, so use that to skip ahead to whatever part of the video you think is most interesting. As always, if you have any questions about what we see today, or even on homework, you can always visit my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. Today's video will have 2 parts, so leave a like, smash subscribe, and let's get started. So far, we've already talked about how you will order your fractions, how you will order your decimals, and by looking at them, you can kind of figure out how you will order your percentages. But what if you had to order all 3 of these all at once? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's jump straight in. Let's say we had this example here in which we have a percentage, a fraction, and a decimal. And we need to order this from smallest to biggest. Now at first glance, this may seem a little intimidating, but I assure you, it's not going to be too difficult. This is going to be pretty similar to how we ordered our fractions. Now remember, whenever we had to order our fractions, we had to have our fractions looking in a very similar way. We had to get them all with the same denominator. Once we did that, we can order them. Well, we're going to have to do something very similar for all of these numbers here. Because these numbers are in completely different number forms, we have percentage form, we have fraction form, and we have decimal form, we have to pick a single form to put all of our numbers in so we can compare these. Now you can technically put them in any of the forms you want. You can convert them all to percentages, you can convert them all to fractions, or you can convert them all to decimals. It's your choice. However, there's one choice that tends to be a little bit easier than the rest, and that's if you put all of these in decimal form. If you can convert all of these to decimal form, it tends to save you a little bit more work. Now, this is not going to be true across the board. There are times when it may be easier to choose another form, but typically, if you convert it to decimal form, you're going to save yourself a little bit of time. And at this point in time, we should know how to convert our percentages into decimals and our fractions into decimals. If not, I have a few videos talking about how to do each and every one of those things. So let's convert all of these into their decimal forms. And let's start with the easiest one, the one that's already in decimal form. So we know that 0.678 is going to go to 0.678. So how about this percentage? Do you remember how to convert a percent into a decimal? Well, in order to convert a percentage into a decimal, the first thing you do is rewrite your number. And wherever your percentage was, you put your decimal. However, you're not going to leave it here. You're going to move it 2 spaces to the left. So you're going to go 1, 2. And this is going to be your true place for your decimal. So it ends up right here. So you can erase this one right here because that's where it started. And when you convert it into a decimal, it looks just like this. So 55% is going to be 0.55 or 55 hundredths. Now we have our fraction form. How do we convert fractions into decimals? Well, that's going to take division. And that's going to be 3 divided by 4 in this case. So 4 is going to be on the outside and 3 is going to be on the inside. And we need to divide this 3 by 4. And to do that, we see that we can't go directly into this, so we need to add some numbers. So since 4 can't go into 3, let's add a 0 and see how many times is 4 going to 30. Well, that's going to be 7 times, right? And 7 times 4, 28. Subtract, that's going to be a 2. We add another 0 because we're not done yet, and we're going to bring that down. How many times is 4 going to 20? 5 times, right? And then that's going to be 4 times 5, which is 20. And you know that cancels out. So we have our fraction into our decimal form now, right? We have 0.75. That's going to be our decimal form. So we have 55% being 0.55. We have 3/4 being 0.75. And we had our original decimal of 0.678. Now we can order these. But what is the first step when you're trying to order your decimals? Well, we have to line them up. We have to stack them on top of each other. And then we're going to see what we have. Since we have to convert all of these numbers into their decimal form, I'm keeping the original form here so we know what corresponds with what. Because remember, we have to order these, but we don't want to order their decimal form. We want to order the original form. So we're going to use this to find the order and then put these in that same order. So we've lined up our decimals, but we see that our last decimal has another decimal place that's missing in the first two. So we make equivalent decimals for each of these by adding a trailing 0. Now we're going to see which one's going to be biggest and which one's going to be smallest. And we start with our zeros here, but they're all the same, so we move on. Now we're going to have a 5, a 7, and a 6. Well, right off the back, we see that they're not the same, so we should be able to tell which one's bigger and which one's smaller. So we have 5, 7, and 6. Well, out of 5, 7, and 6, which one's going to be the smaller number? 5 is a smaller number, right? So this is going to be number 1, because we're going from smallest to biggest. Now, which one's the middle number? 6 is going to be the middle number, right? 6 is going to be a little bit less than 7, so this is going to be our second number. And that means that 7 is our biggest number. So this is the order. We don't even have to look at the other decimal places. The order goes from 1, 2, to 3. So if we had to order this, it would be 55%, 0.678, and 3/4. So let's rewrite this in the correct order. When writing our answer, remember we always want to use the original forms. We only use the decimal form to figure out the order. But now that we've figured out the order, it's 55%, 0.678, and 3/4. We know that this is going to be our original order from smallest to biggest. Now remember, I said that there will be times when it makes more sense to not convert everything into decimal form. However, that's probably going to be your go-to for most cases. But in this case, there's going to be something that you can use beyond just converting all of these into decimal form. And that's using what you know. What do you know about percentages and decimals that can make this even easier than converting all of these into decimal form? Well, we know that our percentages are always going to be over 100 if we were to convert them into fraction form. This is always going to be over. Whatever number is here, it's always going to be over 100. This is a special type of fraction. But what do we know about our decimals? Well, whenever we have two digits like this is also going to be over 100. So if you have all of these in this fashion, in which you have your percentage and you have two digits for your decimal, you can essentially ignore the 100, because this 19 is over 100, that 5 would be over 100, and this 15 would be over 100. We don't even have to worry about the 100 in the denominator. We just order these by simply looking at the numbers in the numerator. And I put in air quotes, numerator, because you didn't technically convert this, but you're essentially converting these into their fraction form, which is a little bit easier to see. So if you're just ordering across the tops by ignoring your 100, which one's going to be smallest and which one's going to be biggest? Is 5 going to be the biggest? No, it's the smallest. So you go ahead and put the 5% first, because we're doing it from smallest to biggest once again. How about 15? Is 15 going to be smaller than 19? Yes. So you put the 0.15, and then you have 19 over there. And this is using what you know about percentages and decimals. Remember, all percentages are going to be those special fractions in which you just take this number and put it over 100. 5% is nothing but 5 over 100. And whenever you have two digits, that's essentially saying you have 15 over 100. Any two digits here is going to be over 100. So using what you know about these two can save you even more work for these special cases. But don't get confused. It's very easy to get confused if you have something like this, 5% and 0.5. Don't just think that this is going to be 5 over 100 and this is going to be 5 over 100. That's not true. Remember, you need two decimal places, which would make this 50 over 100. If you only have the one decimal place, this is going to be over 10. That's 5 over 10, not quite the 100. But if you add a trailing 0, it becomes 50 over 100. So if you're really comfortable with your percentages and your decimals, this could save you some time. However, if you convert all of them to decimal form and then do your ordering, you're still going to get the right answer. Granted, you do the work correctly. So I hope you have followed along to these examples and hope you now know how you're going to order your fractions, your percentages, and your decimals all together. But if you have any questions while you start today, or even your own homework, remember you can visit my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. If you haven't done so already, remember to leave that like. It really helps the channel by letting YouTube know that you found the video helpful. And if you found the video helpful, so can someone else. So leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I'm really hoping to help with your homework. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Courtney, and this has been another session of Tutor Me Sempai.